Friday, October 24th, market analysis, Stan Ehrlich. Wow. Well, we had some good fundamental news this morning. Markets gapped up on the spider and the QQQ and rushed up at 5:30 a.m. California time for those futures contracts and stayed up above previous historic highs. Now a new historic high today. And there's, although gaps, you'll see in a moment, S&P, QQQ, or I'm sorry, SPY, QQQ, and the others were electronics, so they were trading overnight and didn't gap. They just rushed up in a 1 minute period because the CPI, I meant. So this looks like a bullish breakout. It looks like we have had our October lows on October 10th. What I now expect, and this is the raw chart for the E-mini and M-E-mini, micro E-mini, closing above previous highs, holding the gains. What can I say? I think past tense at this point, and I didn't catch it at the time. In fact, I was relatively adamantly bearish until the last couple of days when there seemed to be the possibility of this happening, that I was turning a little bit less bearish. But I have to be bullish. I expect a little retracement to close some gaps. We slipped late in the day today under the previous several hours lows. This could be starting something of a little bit of a dip, like I said, to close some gaps and then higher. I think the October lows may have happened and they slipped away from me in terms of predicting that to be the bottom. Spider gapped up, small gap to close, new historic highs, held the gains, looking awful good. Of course, basically the same, except for the time frame they trade of the ES and the MES. Next is the 1 minute chart spider, and late in the day it started to slip some. So that could be the beginning of a dip down to, the highs, October 20th, 21, 22-ish, that kind of thing. And yesterday, okay, new high, gapped up, QQQ. Expect the gap to be closed, hit support, turn around, start to move up. The QQQ, 1 minute chart, you see obviously more detail, how it is likely to stop coming down because of the support when it closes most of the gap. But I really think the gap should be closed by getting to the high of yesterday. Next, NQ, overnight market, no gap, just went up, stayed up, closed up, strong, bullish, and the 1 minute chart. So Russell, I'm sorry, the YM, the Dow Jones, also rallied through a level that had tested a couple of days ago and stopped at. That's old historic highs back on October 3rd. Today it got up to it, through it, and stayed above it. That's bullish. Near the end of the day, it started to slip off a little bit, so correction back to a little bit of support and higher. Russell, not quite the same story. Major historical resistance, stopped it a week and a half ago or so, and I don't know if it's going to do it again. It seems quite possible, but we do have this upward slanting channel that we're dealing with. So let's see if it can push through resistance on a close, get up to the top of the channel, and then have a retracement a week or so from now. Next, this is simply the 1 minute chart on the Russell. That's the new news this morning, CPI. All right, bonds. Dropped off somewhat yesterday after the previous day testing resistance and stopped at cold turkey with the overbought condition and resistance. Good. Dropped off more yesterday, or the first day down, and today even more. Lower low, lower close. I think it's going to slip off 115, 116 and lower. Next, notes. Pretty much the same story, looking for 112, the low 112s, and maybe lower. This could be a double top. I'm going back to bonds. This is not quite the same low highs on the rally, so no. Now, crude oil. Big gap up, got up to resistance, went through it, but closed below the resistance, the top of the resistance area, and there's a large gap to close. So putting yellow on yellow here for a marker is not going to show up very well. I'll leave it alone until I change it later. But I expect it to come down to the high of yesterday. Next, natural gas. no gap, stopped previous highs, turned down today. Don't see anything wrong with the sideways trading range. I'm looking for the gap to be closed. It had an upside gap a few days ago, and then lower lows for the trend. Remember, we're still dealing with the complex large head and shoulder top that broke out to begin with on June 25th. Next, heating oil. Large gap up, another one. I will put the marker in on this, and I should have pulled it to the right more to begin with. Starting right there at yesterday's high and going up to today's low. Good enough for the moment. So I expect that gap to be closed. We did not close above the bear trend line, the top of the wedge, which I am a little bit concerned. I think it was that way. So yeah, we did close above it. Wait a minute. That's not necessarily the case. That we shifted contract months here, and I didn't realize that. Okay, that's the high at that point in time, and now pull it down to this point. Still closing above it a bit. Could be bullish. I'm not sure, but the gap should be closed. So I'm going to say gap, move down to close the gap first, then new high ground. So far, we topped out almost on the exact high day in gold with a bearish engulfing. ER sell signal came down dramatically on Wednesday. It bounced a little bit today, yesterday, and today. Doji today, insignificant usually, and I'm looking for lower lows. Same thing in silver. We got the exact high day on October 17th. 2 days later, big move down. A little bit higher yesterday, a little bit higher today. I'm still looking for significantly lower levels. I think down to probably 40.40 and maybe even lower. Big bearish engulfing Wednesday in platinum. Produced a rally yesterday I wasn't particularly concerned about. Today's rally is still a small one, but I think it's needing to turn down almost immediately. I do not want it to close or get above Wednesday's high. That kills the bearish engulfing sell signal. But as long as it stays below that high, the signal is still supposedly good. We'll see how these turn out. And I'm telling you, that's from, I don't know, a couple of thousand of these. High grade copper. Canceled out its sell signal on, looks like Monday, on Tuesday. Boom, dead, gone, bad signal. End of story. Small loss if you traded it. Nothing on Wednesday, nothing yesterday, and today we started to gap up, new high ground. So I expect it to come down again, just like these others, and close this small gap in high grade copper. And there we go. That's good enough. So next, soybeans and grains acting pretty good lately. Minor new high again today, relatively steady close, right up against resistance, getting overbought. It's likely to turn down a little bit, but I'm expecting it to turn up into and through the resistance area and get into the 1076 plus area. If we can close above 1080, we have something going. That'll be a new high for a few months. Long-term bottom in progress, I've been saying for quite a long time, frankly. Next, soybean oil just can't seem to break out above this channel it's in, but it's hugging basically right around the bear trend line at the top of the channel. So even a modest up day or more would be an upside breakout. Looking for that. Next, meal. Another new high close. Overbought though for 4 or 5 days now in a row and getting up extremely close to my screaming bloody murder 90 level that it's probably going to top out any moment, any day. So maybe it'll hit the resistance first and then turn down, but at any moment, it's very close to 90. I'm looking for a downside move, but not a new low, probably just back to 280, 285, and then up again. Corn, sorry. Very close to a breakout. Yesterday, pull back. There's the possibility of a head and shoulder bottom, this being a small, kind of weak, muted shoulder. The head of the formation includes a bullish engulfing ER buy signal just before the big rally started on August 14th. And these two lows, take your pick or use them both, could be the last shoulder low. Looking for higher levels in oil, meal, and here we are in wheat. So, new high, steady close, broke the bear trend line yesterday. Let's see how this market can come up against these resistance levels, and if we can clear some important levels like 535 and a close above it. Long-term bullish potentials. Next, Apple gapped up a few days ago, didn't close the gap, didn't make a new high today. Still looking for it to come down and close the gap and more. Next, Tesla. New high, couldn't stay up there, closed back down. Looking for it to dip back down some more. Think it's building a little bit of a top here. I've got the top of the market with a bearish ER sell signal to the exact day. Next, also to the exact day, NVIDIA. And an extra sell signal, which now has been negated. But the top one, the top of the market, yes, that's still good. So it gapped up a little tiny bit. I don't think this is going anywhere. I'm still looking for this support zone to be tested and maybe even a bit lower than that. And that's 164. Resistance is stopping AMD. Oops, that's what I thought. Something was wrong there. Big gap to close, I remember. And I'm still looking for this gap today. I'll put the markers in there to be closed soon. In fact, very much so next week. Divergence, new highs in price with a gap up, exhaustion gap potentially, and a variety of markets, as a matter of fact, not just AMD. We'll see what happens. You guys have a great day and profitable trading to you.